Everybody, morning. Yeah, thank goodness it's Friday. We're all still here. No nuclear war destroyed the world overnight. Looks like there's a situation between Israel and Iran that is ramped up. Significant escalation of tensions, you might say. We've been talking about this for, gosh, oh, I don't know. I've talked about this 2 months, 3 months, maybe. Not really surprising. So, what happened? Overnight, Israel took preemptive action against Iran's nuclear research facilities. They reportedly launched strikes targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, military leadership people, and it was described as a preemptive strike to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. This is part of Operation Rising Lion, and if you've, TLDR, you didn't, I'm sure it's all over the mainstream media news, but I used an AI agent to dig through social media and kind of come up with the cutting edge, up to the minute kind of what's happening, who did what, and TLDR. Too long, didn't read, didn't, if you don't feel like digging through all this stuff, I pulled up some of the stuff. I'm just going to hit the high points before we get into what's going on in the chart patterns and what I expect to happen from here. So that Rising Lion, operation, it's Israel's military is indicating it could be a prolonged operation. So posts in social media indicate the involvement of over 200 jets, lots of covert operations, significant damage has been reported to the Iranian air defense system and to nuclear sites in, I don't even know how to say it, Natanz, Natanz. And Iran has vowed a powerful response to this action and a severe punishment for Israel's strikes against them, which killed top military commanders, including the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hussein Salami. And I can't not laugh at that. Sorry. Nuclear scientists and other top officials. So they've labeled this as a declaration of war against Iran. However, there are conflicting reports about Iran's immediate retaliation abilities. Israel claimed that Iran launched over 100 drones, which Tehran has said they deny, reportedly. So we'll see what happens here. Regional and international reactions. The situation's been, the U.S. market went down, right? But funny enough, we went down yesterday into, yesterday's open, then we came back up, and then we went down again. It's very proportional, and we'll go through that chart here in a minute. But the situation has raised global concerns. Russia has condemned the escalation. President Putin receiving updates from defense and intelligence services. The U.S. did not participate in the strikes, but was briefed beforehand by Netanyahu that, he told President Trump. So Trump's been emphasizing diplomatic efforts to try to, somewhat de-escalate this, and it's developed into it's already a conflict, but it could become a massive conflict engulfing more than just the two parties of Israel and Iran so far. Now, this thing's kind of had months of escalation, so it's not really a big surprise. In fact, I kind of hint around that we may see something happen with Iran, and Iran's been accelerating the uranium enrichment, and that's kind of Israel's reason for doing this. Earlier, social media posts from May speculate about the imminent Israeli strike, which has now happened. So this has been ramping up for a while. Now, I guess one of the most important things that happened recently was Iran's acquisition of sensitive Israeli documents, and it made threats to U.S. bases in the region to add to this volatile atmosphere. So the social media sentiment kind of reflects alarm and polarization. Some people, it's kind of like This is a polarizing topic, right? There's a lot of fear, though, and speculation about a broader regional conflict and all-out war that could develop into World War III. So we'll see what happens and develops. That's kind of the sentiment flowing on social media right now, and we'll see. Now, looking at the charts, let's jump over, talk about that. So that's just kind of an update based on stuff you probably won't get on social media because, on not social media, but on mainstream media because they won't dig through social media. So before we talk too much trades and stuff, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining. Not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instruments. So no stocks, no options, no bonds, no forex, no futures, no cryptos, no treasuries. Don't buy stuff from gurus like me, all right? Unless you trust me or you trust the person you're buying from. Most of us are just full of bullshit, all right? Just full of malarkey. So just keep it in mind that most people just trying to take some of your money and make it some of their money and don't really care if you make money at all. If you desire personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. I give out stuff for free every day. You don't have to buy anything from me if you don't want to. I do appreciate you supporting me and my family, but you can get this thing knocked off dead center without spending any money with any guru. You just have to spend your time, all right? I like to think I create tools and opportunities to cut out the amount of time you spend doing this stuff, but you got to do the work. So, looking at the calendar, it's Friday, baby. We've got consumer sentiment and inflation. I was tongue tying them together there. Consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. Consumer expectations and inflation sentiment. No, it's consumer sentiment, inflation expectations, right there, coming out at 10 o'clock after the market opens. Might get a little chaos. This is University of Michigan. This is not an official government report. This is a survey, and it's been running pretty hot, especially on the inflation. You can see this is what we've been expecting, and the CPI we got this week. Dun, 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 dun. This is what we've actually been doing. We're going lower, but this one down here expecting things to blast off, and so somewhere around December we drastically decoupled. So somebody's very pessimistic about the current, survey respondents very pessimistic about the current administration, maybe causing inflation. So far, not really panning out there. Anyway, if you like anything that I've, if you like my news stories and my updates, give me feedback. I do appreciate it. If you got other questions about other topics, throw them in the chat or in the comments down below. I do appreciate all of it. Or let me know on Discord later. I've got other topics that I was going to discuss, but, current events took over. So, S&P 500 overnight. That was pretty drastic, right? Woo. But guess what we did? Check this out. Put that on the high. Got that on that high. Got that. Let me pull that up there. So yesterday we were, as we came in the open, we're here. I was like, we get above that 618 level, potentially sets the stage. Right before the close, I gave up on expecting that pop. Posted in Discord, I was closing my long. Just had a feeling, and that's what we got. Now, Elliott wave-wise, that's an A wave, that's a B wave, and this is a C wave. That's 1.272 times A. I always talk about these moves in the market that are kind of echoes and similarity and symmetry. That move right there and that move right there, we went 1.272 times the first move. First move down, second move down, 1.272 times bigger. Boom. So using the 3-point tool, you're like, how do you even do this? Use that 3-point tool, 3-point fib tool for point, first point, second point, right here at the bottom, and the third point right here. What that does is it gives you the projection of that move down right over here. And then I have the 1272 turned on and the 1618 turned on because those are common extensions that the market loves to do. Now, in a correction, we've talked about this. In a correction, we typically will stop right here in this zone and reverse. That's exactly what we did. So this right now is a corrective move down that's finished for now. Now, the question in my mind, is this part of a bigger correction? Are we going to do a bigger correction, or is this finito bendito, we're done? So right now, we've come back into the zone, right? Like when you look at this first move down, this looks a lot like the move on gold. Look at that right there. Let's pop up to the daily chart on gold. Look at this right here. See this move on gold? First move down, second move down. That's interesting, right? Pop back into ES. We're just on a smaller time frame though. We're on this 30-minute time frame instead of the daily chart. So we did the first move down, second move down. Now we're into this resistance zone. Why do I have the two blue fibs? Right there's the resistance zone. If we get through here and don't just do this, if we do another one of these right in this orange box, probably going lower. If we can rip on through, probably going higher. So that's the tell today, right there. What happens? We are below the 30-minute roadmap line. We are below the 1 hour, finding resistance. 4 hour, still untouched. What I don't like here is we overlapped. That doesn't provide clarity. In impulsive fashion. Stopped in very corrective stance. But we could do that, and then we have what'll be a leading diagonal. We usually get a deep retrace off of that. If we go ahead and finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, this is where it gets complicated. Corrections are always complicated. That's why I don't like trading them. All right. Could get a deep retrace and then a bigger downside take hold. So this will be the zone I'm watching today. Support right now. If we get another move down, probably right down in here. If we stop, if we don't break higher than where we closed the market yesterday. Next support down right around 5,900. Then we may do another 3-wave type retrace, hold a lower high again, and develop something deeper. All right, that's kind of the structure of the market right now. And I find it slightly comical that I had left that three-wave extension thing on the chart. I had it from right there, I think it was yesterday. We went just a little higher into the close, and that move right at 4 o'clock was it, and we pushed it right down. So if you don't think there's some sort of, why would the market stop right there? Hey, there's some sort of other thing going on than just mainstream media news. All right, some sort of other sentiment going on, and we're stopping right at the 1 hour on the climb. We did break below. We stopped right there. Something to this stuff right here. I'm telling you. If we break below this, the 618786 area, there's a zone right there. I just clear it up and draw it for you. This low, this high we just made. So this zone right here, set you an alert here at that 59.43. We start below that 59.43 on the futures. This is not the cash index. Start below that. Probably going down for that 4-hour roadmap line. Probably going to do it. And then we'll have a leading diagonal on the chart. Be right in there, 5,900 with the target. Right there. That's what I'm watching right now today. Yeah, if you made out on that IWM put spread, congratulations. Cha-ching. I'd book it out. I mean, we could get more downside. I mean, it's up to you. You want to book it out now, or you want to ride for later? We're probably doing, look, we already hit the 4-hour here. This is somewhat more bearish, all right? Remember, I'm looking for S&P to finally hit that 4-hour. This already did it in a 3-way fashion. This does not have overlap. This can easily get continuation lower. This one's set up to be more bearish. More bearish. That is a big tail right now. Already bouncing off some resistance. If we were to get a push higher, that profit's going to evaporate very quickly, but I'm still looking for the bigger downside move. So right now we're holding up this trend line of lows, pushed right into it. If we actually push through it, we might back test it and then get the bigger downside move. Commonly, this is a very common pattern right here when you break through a trend line. Right now we're holding. Easily be folding. So if you took that IWM spread, that was pretty timely. 36%. Good job. Congratulations. Ted, Goose booked it out too. Good job. Good job, everybody. Good job, team. I need that little, what is it? Mark Zuckerberg. I was like, good job, team. Anyway, memes. So looking at IWM on the daily here, we're kind of holding in here. That's why it might be a good idea to book. Could see a bounce before we roll further down. Still expect further down, but let's be honest. It's been holding that uptrend pretty well so far. Might bounce from here. World War III didn't start today. At least not yet. Look at the S&P 500 cash index. Not so bad, she says. Came down to the 30, like, first move down, retrace, second move down. Right, there we go. First move down, the retrace, and right to A equals C on the cash index. Could see further push down into that 30-minute, but when you look at the cash, we've still got support at the 1-hour, support at the 4-hour, on down to here at 58. So that there's a wide divergence. What's the moral of the story here? Wide divergence between cash index prices and futures prices. Wide diversion. And quite a bit different on those levels. Like really, really pretty big difference. So that'll probably get resolved before the next, or it'll either get resolved before the next major move or in the next major move. We'll have a resolution of the levels between those two. NASDAQ still has room to go to the 4-hour. S5, FI, and TH, and TW. Let's check in with these really quickly. Still hanging in the middle. And we don't have a live update, but still hanging in the middle. It's hanging at the top, hanging in the middle, no clear anything. Anybody take this one yesterday? Sell puts on it. I mean, look at that beautiful, beautiful earnings. Target's still up in here. We do have a date with the roadmap line and the gap fill, which we're probably working on the gap fill, right? Yeah, we're working on that gap fill right now. Excuse me. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, this could develop into a bigger upside move too. We could actually break this baby out and head back north of 800 again. Well, good job, team. Anybody that took it, awesome. I talked about all the like the item in thing, the RH thing. Talked about that yesterday. Beautiful opportunities. Apple not really responding much. Let's go through the Mag 7s here. First move down, potential next move down, no clear. So I'm considering buying some AAPD, AMZD, GGLS. All of these have potential downside. Meta. Get some METD, I think it is. Yeah, METD. Microsoft. Almost, like we made a new all-time high yesterday. Almost got the target. Probably set to get that the next day or two. They announced a new handheld Microsoft console, Xbox console thing. That could be pretty juicy. I mean, look at Nintendo. Nintendo. Nvidia. I was talking about that crown pattern potential. Still hanging there. It's basically a big head and shoulders reversal type thing. If we break the neckline, this could get substantial downside. Tesla punted on launching a robo-taxi yesterday. Musk suggesting it might be the 22nd. And yeah, great job. Great job, Ted. I mean, I seem to be timely on these. I don't know what y'all think. I try to give, like I said, I try to give maximum content, maximum benefit for people who view the show. When I see the opportunities, I don't always, there's not an opportunity every single day. Yes, things are moving, but it's just the market doesn't speak to me with like amazing potential every single day. So I try. Hey, Sergio, better late than never. Alrighty, so Tesla still has this potential on the chart. I had to share those with the team, Ted, and may come down, find support. If that corresponds with the 22nd, we could launch off pretty big. So 22nd is the new day for Robotaxi public launch. Elon tweeting that he, out of an abundance of caution, we pushed that back just a little bit. We don't want any problems to happen on launch day. So as far as gold goes, nice little pop, still lower high. We'll see. There's still B wave potential here. Creating some ambiguity, but ambiguity fits with a fourth wave, which we may, this target may be raising up a bit. I'm gonna actually pull it up today. Let's put our expectation here, 3,000, 29 to 3,000. Ideal if we get on down, but let's pull it up just a little bit. It may need to be pulled up just a little bit more, maybe 31, 30, 50 even. So I still expect that to puke out eventually, not today apparently. And you can say, well, I think you're wrong, JT, big world conflict, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll see. And apparently something happened there. I typed more letters and it didn't show up. So cool. Bitcoin index Still grinding. Interesting on this. Yesterday, kind of indicating we were going down. At the close, we were right down here, the close of the market, and we pushed lower overnight, getting a little reprieve. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right down in there. Be very, very cautious here. Bitcoin needs a further downside. We could see this rip back up, suck people in. Here's the high, here's the low. The resistance level right in there at that 30-minute roadmap line at this point, maybe the 618. Then we'll probably see a bigger, more vicious downside take hold. This is somewhat impulsive on the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, no overlap, 5. Be very careful on Bitcoin here. This is your warning. Be very careful on Bitcoin here. I think we're going to see some downside continuation. First move down, retrace. Next move down puts it down in this vicinity. Could get another retrace, and right now though I only expect 3 moves. It could go as deep as at 96, maybe 95. Daily roadmap line wouldn't surprise me one bit. Now we do have that bigger first move down, lower high, second move down potential. Now it's all kind of coalescing around the same. I would expect to see 5 waves on that, on this move. So we could get an extension down to here and a little poke lower. Still could get to 94. Still potential on that chart right there. Yeah, so when I start talking about trades where I'm like, here's an opportunity. I've got a lot of clear, like, I feel pretty strongly about it. So good job, Laura. Good job. Yeah, there's protests everywhere. There's actually something like 486 scheduled protests this weekend. Some craziness. And that number's flexible. So Ethereum took a trip back to the roadmap line. If we can hold, great. If we don't, watch out. This one took a trip right back down to the roadmap line. That's not looking good. If we break below it, you know where we're going. Global liquidity indicator right there with the Japanese stock market. As I talked about, that's kind of a bull pennant flag, whatever you want to call it. I'm not fond of those patterns, but yeah, to me, a break back lower would make sense here. But it could go on higher and, you know, flagpole, flagpole. That's the way that pattern typically works. Like I said, I've not found reliability in doing that. I've learned a lot of things over the years trying to find the thing that worked for me. Elliott Wave is the thing that worked for me, that lets me predict things. So this is one of the things I learned along the way. Not keen on the reliability of that. Dollar. We dipped out. Didn't quite make it to the target though. So gold up, dollar up. How does that make sense? Right? How does that make sense? So everybody that's like, when the dollar's down, gold's up. When the dollar's up, gold's down. Dollar up, gold up. There's no dollar, gold. You can say, yeah, but on the long term, yeah, but, you know, every chart on its own, unless it's like a leverage chart. So dollar and gold's priced in dollars, but big picture, there's no like direct correlation on those two on a day-to-day basis. Apple dumpling, crack-a-lackin'. I've talked about how those all have corrections set up. RH, pretty smoking. NOC, be careful. It's secured asset until it's not. I'm just warning you, gold can take a major dump for no particular reason. See, companies that stand to benefit from war, people that make weapons, but also people that make targets. Think about that. So that's why the stock market tends to do better in periods of war. Initially, we get a big down, but we got to build more stuff. So building more stuff, people buy more stuff, spend more money. It's good for companies. We buy more weapons, we buy more targets. So general war is more bullish for the stock market than you might think. Now, the big threat, as I've talked with Lieutenant Colonel Goose and General Rush and others very knowledgeable, an attack on the homeland, the United States, is going to be devastating for the stock market for a while. So that's the black swan unknown that could happen. LMT stuck in this consolidation, not really breaking out. We have resistance right up here if we can break out. So watching this level right here around 490. If we get above that, probably going to cruise on up to about 540, 550. And then we'll see what happens in that zone. Just circling back, it's just in more sideways consolidation. We've been in this zone. I drew the sideways arrow back here, and it's still in that almost 3 years later. Nothing. OIH. Somebody wrote in Discord that oil was, I think I skipped oil, but somebody wrote in Discord that oil was dropping. It looks like it's trying to break out to me. Maybe I sold my UCO too early, but actually sold it right there yesterday on the pop, and yeah, 26 could have got today. $3 more. Did say there was bigger when I threw that out there. There was bigger upside potential, but I would be careful now. We could get a pullback. Definitely. We're at that 618. We could hold right here for the leverage charts do give up pretty quickly. So USO trying to break out. We'll see if we can stick this. There may be another opportunity for another leg higher. Gonna stick this landing. That big downtrend going for a couple years now. Tried to break through here, failed it. Lower low. Now we're back to it. Holding. Look at that rejection. We spiked all the way to that 272. Now we're back down at that trend line. Can't make this stuff up. Like I had all these drawn on the chart before this happened. Like this is not like surprise. Just a little bit shocking to me how it all works. Crazy. So oil, OIH, Vanek Oil Services, bouncing off the roadmap line. 3 waves. That can go lower. Caution. Bang. So I pull everything moving $2 or more up, put it on the gainers list, look for opportunities. There's a lot of decliners. I guess we check a few of them out, look for opportunities. That one's big. Goldman Sachs. Look for that to come back to the roadmap line. GE Veranova. Not really moving. Adobe. Well, we expected that to go lower. Look at that. Reported earnings. Cruising on down. Imagine that. KLAC. That's probably on a path to get to 939. SBET. Yeah, I keep talking. Oh, look at that. We're back to the bottom. Check it out. back in the zone. Auto zone. Carvana. Probably come back to the roadmap line also. Just might be a roundabout's way to get there. Let's see what else we got. PLTR. Back to ripping. 141 on the upside. Something just happened on my Robinhood account. Heard the notification through my headphones. All right, setups we got for today. I'm gonna just skip ahead here. That one, not the best. AMT. So this is a real estate investment trust, not the most reliable on these patterns. I've not found that real estate investment trusts tend to work out the best. If we go look at the historic here, you can see 26 trades, 61% net loser. Not likely to fix that with 4 more trades. All right, this is a net loser. I'll be very careful putting my money at risk here, especially because this has a low dividend relative for me, relatively low. 3%. I like to see 8 to 12%. 3% is really low for something that doesn't tend to trend. Tends to chop, 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 and it's below, way below all-time highs. So we're not seeing this thing outperform right now. Now, funny enough, the money does tend to flow into this during times of risk. So when there's risk in the markets, we see flight to safety in real estate investment trusts. O is another one of those. Pays out a really low dividend for me, but we see flight to safety during periods, 21 to 22, 23. See periods of flying to safety. Now, COVID, everything got dumped. So it's interesting. O firing off a couple days ago. CVGW. Another one. It's a net loser so far. That high, that low. Upside target 29. MBB, which is probably not the right MBB. Let's see. MBB. Yeah, here we go. We had the bigger picture bounce back here, and now we've got the tighter bounce right there. Target 94.32. And there it goes. Yeah, not great statistics. So none of the 3 of these look great to me right now. DJT popping off or crashing out? Not really doing much at all. So this is very similar to the RH pattern right here. Potential measured bounce. We bounced off of the roadmap line. We found support at the 618. Larger upside potential. Resistance right here. 40 on the way up. This has nothing to do with me caring about who it is or what it is. I don't give a flying shiz bag. This pattern right here is what I'm trading. I like making money. I don't care what it comes from. So this one might come back down to there before we bounce on up. This has kind of the confirmation that we're going on up to the targets. It just, do we retrace to here before we do that? Or do we just hold support where we are and pop? 36.50, roughly the target. For you channel members, I've been selling Rocket Lab. I've been selling DJT, puts. I'll take the shares because I'm bullish on these charts. For Termite Trading Lab members in Discord, I've put out a whole bunch of potentially bullish charts. Things that I think are bottomed or close to bottoming that I expect to be able to sell puts on potentially. So bias for the day, and then I'll wrap this up. I do have a meeting with my team leader. It's like, I'm not the team leader. Imagine that I have a team leader. I have a meeting with her in a minute. So give you a bias for the day, and then we'll wrap this baby up. Yeah, so S&P coming back into, we're probably going to test this with the cash. And we'll see if we can push up higher. That may complete that leading diagonal here. And if we do a lower low here. So this is an interesting one. If we complete a 3-wave down here and a leading diagonal here, that's going to be indicating a bigger downside setup in the charts. And this, this is running 10 minutes behind, so and we're seeing that bleeding off pretty viciously there. Such a, I'm probably going to get some more downside here. Set some alerts. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you again soon. And yeah, 1800, no king press. We'll see. So have a great day. We'll see you later.